I know I omitted it from the thumbnail and title of this video, but the person who flawlessly fought Labyrinth of Legends Starlord was Invisible Woman. But before we get into the 10 minutes of gameplay that is, I would like to talk a little about how Invisible Woman works. This will take a while, but if you know how she works, please do skip to the gameplay section of this video. There will be timestamps in the description, as well as this video will be segmented. Now, if you've ever fought Invisible Woman, you have a rough idea of how she works, but not to read verbatim of this whole long list of abilities, I'm just going to go over the parts that are important. For each debuff on the opponent, Invisible Woman's attacks deal an additional 4% of the damage dealt as a burst of physical damage. Not to mention, she has the force field mechanic. Now, she starts the fight with a force field. The force field's maximum strength, 100%, is equal to about 10% of her health. Now, you can go above 100% of the force field's strength. I do not know if that is a bug or not. I have a feeling it is not, but just be wary, we don't know what is a bug and what isn't. While she has the force field up, any damage other than a special 3, the force field takes 90% of that damage. Now, if she dodges an attack, she turns invisible. Invisibility lasts for 2 seconds and is unpaused if she blocks an attack, the opponent misses, or the opponent hits her. Now, why do you want to be invisible, I hear you ask? Well, every time you dodge an attack, or essentially whenever you would turn invisible while already invisible, you place a fragility debuff on the opponent. Max stacks 50. Each fragility increases your crit damage rating by about 35. That's all we really care about. They are all purified when invisibility ends, and whenever a fragility debuff is purified, invisibility ends immediately. So if they purify them through abilities or through nodes, invisibility expires. Next up, we have the Special 1. The Special 1 essentially just grants you 25% force field strength. So it adds 25% or just 25 to its current strength. The last hit, if the force field is on cooldown, there's a chance for it to be restored at 50% strength. Not that useful. Your big bread and butter for damage is the Special 2. The first hit of this attack grants a Fury for 9 seconds, increasing attack rating by 100%, scaling with the current force field strength, and the force field is drained when this Fury expires. What's interesting, though, is that reading that, you would assume that, increases attack rating by 100%, meaning if you're at 100% force field strength, you gain the 100% bonus. If you're at 200% force field strength, you still only gain the 100% bonus, but that is not the case. To do a little bit of math, essentially each 1% strength of the force field equals about 31.4 attack. So if you theoretically had 1,000% in your force field, you would increase your attack rating by 31,400. Not just theoretically, that is true. You can do that. Now, I bet you're wondering, well, how do you get to, 1,000 force field? And the answer is the Special 3. If the force field is active during the Special 3, you add a flat 100% to the force field's current strength. If it is on cooldown, it is instead restored at 100% strength. It also pauses Invisible Woman's invisibility, and it cannot unpause for 6 seconds. There is no visual indicator or, passive icon to tell you this, so you just have to count yourself or guess. It's very annoying. Something else is the Awaken ability. However, I do find the Awaken ability to be useless on offense. She turns invisible at the start of the fight, but it is not paused. There is a 10 to 60% chance to turn invisible whenever she is knocked down, and whenever the opponent misses, the force field gains back 1.05 to 10% of its starting value. Not very useful. And I bet you're thinking, this is a very volatile character. You have to play near perfectly to keep your fragilities and your invisibility up, and then you also can't get hit, otherwise you lose force field charge, which essentially equates to losing damage. And you would be right. However, there are 2 synergies that come very much in clutch. Those are the first Crush synergy with Dragon Man, which says when Invisible Woman becomes visible, she retains 40% of the fragility debuffs on the opponent. So instead of losing all of them, 100%, you lose 60% of them, which is very, very nice and very forgiving. The reason the Psycho Man one is so important is because instead of the only way to gain fragilities to be turning invisible while she is already invisible, or dexing an attack, if you will, all attacks have a 25% chance to place a fragility debuff on the opponent while invisible, which is very nice. So if you want to play Invisible Woman, you need to have those 2 on your team, being Dragon Man and Psycho Man. The only problem is Psycho Man's not very good. So I suggest they put those two synergies into her base kit, albeit at maybe a bit of a reduction, and then these synergies change to something else. That's about the only thing I would change. The only other thing I would change is maybe about the special 2 or the 3, but I'll get into more of what I would change about Invisible Woman later on in this video after I've shown you the gameplay. But now that you have a semi-good understanding of how Invisible Woman works, I would just like to play the gameplay out for you and let you see for yourself how much of a chore it is to play her, but it is still fun. I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't fun. Yeah, as you can see, it took 10 minutes and 5 seconds and 509 hits and 1 perfect parry, which was a mistake, but I kept it because, hey, I'm not perfect. But it was still a beautiful fight, and it still showcases the potential damage Invisible Woman can do. Now, the only issue is, as you saw, you can't lose invisibility, and you can't get hit, because then you lose force field charge and invisibility. So it's this big mixed bag for me. Things I would change, though, is I would just make it so that Fury off the special 2 lasts, instead of 9 seconds, lasts like 18. Something as simple as that, I feel, would take this character from basically not talked about to talked about. Maybe you throw the Psycho Man and Dragon Man synergies in her base kit as well, but just that doubling of the special 2 Fury duration would drastically increase this champ's just overall presence in the contest, because she's not the hardest of defenders. There are so many, miss counters. There are so many champs who apply bleed. There are so many champs who reduce ability accuracy that it would be nice to see her not be an annoying defender, but be a very powerful attacker, one who can contend with Kitty Pryde. I know she'll never be as good as Kitty Pryde in some regards, but in other regards, she can output more damage than Kitty Pryde can. It's just harder to maintain, among other things. Other than that, that's really it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.